Thank you, Tommy, and thank you to the breakfast team. Good morning, it's Amal Rajan here, back after a refreshing week off. Welcome to the Asian Network phone-in. Today we're asking, is Theresa May operating double standards with her policy on Indian visas? The Prime Minister is on a trip to India and says that she'll make it easier for wealthy business executives to come to the UK. But at the same time, the government is enforcing tougher rules on poorer workers and students coming to Britain, something the Indian government is not very happy about. Call us on 03459 440 445, text us on 81869, message us on WhatsApp 07920 500 200, or email the big debate at bbc.co.uk. To Britain from India is not something that concerns her particularly, and if you're a poorer worker or student, you won't necessarily be able to come over. Call us on 03459 440 445, text us on 81869, message us on WhatsApp 07920 500 200, or email the big debate at bbc.co.uk. I know many of you have been affected by visa issues, so do please get in touch. Let's go to my next guest this morning, Anisha Bhavnani, who's a student at Warwick University. Anisha, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for being with us. What's have you been affected by these visa regulations and rules?
Yeah, definitely. So I was listening to Mr. Patel speaking, and he started off really optimistically, but I don't think I share that optimism. I think I'm definitely a bit more cynical about what he was saying, because he mentioned that universities do want more international students, and I get that, because international students do pay a fee that's a lot higher than what a British person would pay. But I think one of the main reasons why the numbers have dropped is because it's so difficult to get a work visa. So there is no incentive to come to the UK. I feel like it's really diminished,
right?
Because even though I'm contributing so much to the economy right now, and I am spending a lot of money on my education, and I've created a life for myself here, and I have people I care about. After 3 years, there's a good chance I'm just gonna have to get up and leave everything that I have made for myself here.
So what's your current position, Anisha? So you're here, you're at Warwick University, you're paying. Do you mind me asking roughly how much you're paying? Is it into the tens? It must be multiple tens of thousands of pounds.
So I think I'm paying around 20,000 a year.
£20,000 a year. Goodness me! So over 3 years, that's going to be over £60,000, which is.
And that would just be the fees.
And that's just the fees. So we're looking at maybe, with living
heavy.
expenses and all that, we're edging towards £100,000, which would certainly go a long way in India. And in return for that, you're not actually sure whether or not, when your visa runs out in, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I have 2 more years, because I have 1.5 year more, because I'm in my second year now.
So what are you planning to do?
That's a good question. So I've been trying to apply for summer internships, but I do know, even the Careers and Skills Department at my university has mentioned that it is difficult to get work visas, and you shouldn't have your hopes too high, but try nevertheless. So yeah, I think I'm trying to be optimistic about it, but I know it is difficult, especially in I think it also depends on what sector a student would want to go in. So I think finance does sponsor a lot of visas because they tend to have more money, but media, entertainment and the creative sectors, they probably wouldn't sponsor visas for international students because they can get what they want from British students.
And what sector are you in?
So I'm studying economics and politics. So hopefully, maybe that will help, I guess.
Well, maybe you should run the country. I mean, there's certainly a demand for that of it. Just tell us, what would your family back at home in India? Whereabouts in India are you from?
I'm from Mumbai.
Well, what would your family in Mumbai like you to do? Do they want you to come home after 3 years, or do they want you to stay here and make a life and family over here?
To be honest, I think they want me to do whatever I'm comfortable with. But I think we would all agree that I do want to stay for a bit and try and earn just as much as I have spent, because it will take me a long time to earn that money in India than it would in the UK. So I think even my parents would want me to stay here for a while and work a bit more and gain a bit more experience and exposure to the work market here.
Okay, so when I tell you that Theresa May, as I was mentioning to Alpesh Patel, Theresa May has said that a small group of high net worth individuals and their families will be offered access to something called the Great Club, a bespoke visa and immigration service to make visa applications smoother, and that basically very wealthy executives are going to be given preferential treatment. How does that make you feel?
I think that sounds so elitist. I think it sounds quite unfair and a bit hypocritical. I do get where she's coming from because obviously she would care about her country and she cares about her economy and how like she does want businesses to grow in her own country. But like to me, it seems so unfair because I don't think she really does care much about Indian students in the UK.
Why do you say that?
Well, like, especially like her visa changes as she was Home Secretary before, and even now, like she doesn't like there are the issues going on with work visas and stuff. I don't think she's really addressed that at all. Like, I don't think it made much of a difference to her at all.
Okay, but do you understand, Anisha, though, that she is under... I mean, you've lived here for long enough to know that there is a huge... I mean, you lived here presumably through the vote to leave the European Union. There is a lot of political pressure, isn't there, to reduce immigration. Can you understand why some people listening to this show would say, you know, it's great that you're over here, Anisha, it's great that you're studying, it's great that you're contributing to life at Warwick University and our economy, but, you know, we do need to reduce the number of foreigners over here. Can you understand that?
Yeah, actually I do. And a lot of my Indian friends might not agree with me on this, but I do get it. And like I know, like even before coming to the UK, I knew that getting jobs would be difficult.
Yeah.
And so I know I was promised a great education, which I'm getting. I'm absolutely loving my time here at uni, and I'm really receiving a really good education. But I know I wasn't promised a great job, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it is like obviously, like I think even with Brexit, you can tell that the country's inclination is towards like you know wanting its jobs back and wanting its people to have like the first priority. And I do understand that because every country would possibly want that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so, but I am a bit selfish.
Yeah.
So
no, well, it's totally reasonable. God, 100 grand is an awful lot of money. Anisha, just stay with us on the line if you would, please, because I want to bring in a next caller, which is my first caller, which is who's going by the name of Sarah. I understand that's not your real name, Sarah, but you have some knowledge of this issue, and I'm really grateful for you calling in this morning. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Thanks so much. I won't ask you your real name. We'll call you Sarah. Just tell us what your response is to my question this morning, which is whether or not Theresa May is operating double standards in allowing wealthy executives to come to Britain, but in not necessarily changing the rules for Indian students.
I don't think she's operating double standards at all. I completely agree with Theresa May. I come from an education background, so I'm currently on maternity leave from a university.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. And we have lots of international students, and I personally feel that we have so many issues with a number of international students in terms of playing the game.
Right.
So, and what I mean by that is like some students previously have purposely failed modules, they don't turn up to all their classes, and then they want to extend their visas to then stay in the country even longer rather than doing their 3 years and then actually leaving. It is more difficult for students to get jobs after they finish their degrees, because I've also come from a graduate recruitment background, because there's so many forms of visa issues that employers have to complete and things like that. So it is easier to take somebody who is, UK European. But yeah, I genuinely do believe that those students who do come from abroad, I know they pay lots of money to universities, but there's some students who do come who are not necessarily strong enough to be on it.
And you think quite a lot of them are gaming? A lot of them are gaming the system. Just quickly, sorry, if you would, roughly what proportion of the? I won't ask you what university you're at because it'll, unless you want to tell us, but it'll get you in lots of trouble. What proportion of the students are foreign students? Roughly, is it a quarter, a third, half?
Oh, I don't know this year's statistics because I'm not there at the moment.
Roughly, give us a general guess.
I'd say I've got about a quarter. Yeah,
okay.
25-30% of my students.
And of those, how many do you think are basically fakes? How many of those are people who are gaming the system to be in Britain under false pretences, essentially, roughly?
Easily 10 to 15%. But what I want to say is it's not just from India. It is from other countries like, other Asian countries as well. We're looking at Middle Eastern countries as well.
Sure.
So it's not just from
It's not just
India.
in India. I guess we're only talking about that because Theresa May is in India this morning. But Sarah, stay with us, and I want to put your numbers and I want to put your argument to Anisha in just a moment. And Anisha's kindly stay with us. But I do want to bring in my next guest, who's Subhash Thakra, who's from the Association of Indian Business and Vice President of the London Chamber of Commerce, and is very patiently waiting on the line. Subhash, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Amal.
Thanks so much for your time. Do you think that there is something... I mean, what's your response to Theresa May's position that she will create these special rules for wealthy business executives, but she won't bow to pressure, of which there is a lot, to allow more Indian students in?
Well, first of all, I very much welcome her visit and her initiative that she's taken to choose India as her first country to visit for this kind of international trade purpose.
Yeah.
The London Chamber of Commerce has always maintained that there should be freer and more visas available, particularly for businessmen and also for students. I think international students are creating good income for our country, and we must support that and encourage that. So I welcome whatever changes that have been announced, because this is a step up from where we were before. And I think there's going to be more improvement, particularly for students, as well as we keep lobbying to the government, because they do realize that these are important decisions to be made. I think they're going it gradually, because there has been, let's face it, there has been some abuse amongst students' visas that have taken place in the past. We had a number of colleges that have had to be closed down. And so there has been difficulties there which need to be ironed out and dealt with. But I am pretty sure and optimistic that our present government is going to ease the visa issue even for the students in time to come. But
well, that's not what, with respect, Subhash, I mean, that's not what, I mean, we have on the line Anisha Bhavnani, who's a student at the University of Warwick, who can tell you that at the moment it's not very easy for students to come over here. And the numbers, as I read out to Alpesh Patel, a financial analyst who is in the press conference with Theresa May and Narendra Modi this morning, suggests that actually the number of Indian students coming to Britain has fallen from, as I say, 68,000 in 2010 to 11,000 now. So there is a very dramatic reduction.
No. I totally agree that it has been, the number of students have reduced quite a lot, and this has been a loss to us for sure. And that is why we have been lobbying the government to change the rules and make it better, because students are an important source, not only for the short term when they come and spend time in our universities, but also the connections that they develop with UK when they start doing business. Remember that these students, when they go back to India or wherever they do go back, they become in due course quite senior people in industry and business, and they need to do business with the UK. So we are foolish in our attitude to tighten up visas for the students, definitely. But at the same time, I think it needs to be done in a careful way so that there is no abuse that takes place. But I think I'm totally for and very much in support of the fact that students' visas should be made easy, and they should be allowed to come, as many as they would like to come, because that's a great income for this country and a great connection that we could have in the future.
Okay, so I stay with us. I want to put that position to Anisha Bhavnani, who's still on the line from the University of Warwick. Anisha, you've heard both Subhash and our previous caller, who's going by the name of Sarah, say that there is a huge amount of abuse. Sarah was saying that of her students, around a quarter are foreign students, and maybe 10-15% of those are here basically faking and gaming the system. Does that accord with your experience? I mean, you're obviously, a pucker and proper student, paying huge fees over here, and you're pursuing a really, really high-class education, and we wish you the best of luck with it. But do you think that there are a lot of students who are defrauding the system?
So I think Sarah mentioned that these students, they don't go to lectures, but they still want jobs. And I think the problem rests with the university. I think it depends on the university, because in the end, it's the university that chose the student to come to it. So when, in the application process, if the university isn't stringent enough and they aren't getting the best people, and they aren't just basing it on merit, and if they just want the international student fee, then obviously that's going to happen. I mean, I think it really depends on where the university stands, because it's the university that selected them. So if there are people who are faking it, then I think it reflects quite badly on the university, probably not on the students, because I'm sure there are British students as well who miss their lectures and still want jobs in the country. So I really think it does depend on the university application process.
Okay, and you said you've decided to come to the University of Warwick. You're spending 3 years here. You're investing, and your family is presumably investing huge sums. Just explain to listeners, Anisha, if you would, what it is about the UK that made you want to come here. Why did you decide to pursue a visa to Britain to study here?
Sure. That's an interesting question. I definitely think that the standard of education here is vastly different from. I wouldn't generalize and say from India, but from quite a few colleges in India, and I think the work here is a lot more application based and it's more practical, and the exposure to like an international university where there are people coming from all over the world. I think that makes so much of a difference compared to if I was in India, because I would interact with only Indian students, and so I think there are a variety of reasons. Even also obviously the standard of living here is a lot higher, and so I think I think those would be one of like the main reasons.
Okay, but the message that you're getting from the British government right now is that the number of students coming here to coming from India to Britain is possibly too high, or the fact that it's falling is something that Britain is relatively relaxed about, and you're living with the anxiety of not knowing in 2 to 3 years whether or not you're actually going to be allowed to stay in Britain. Is it your sense that it feels like it's kind of one rule for the rich and another for the rest of us?
Yeah, definitely. And I also feel like, so normally, like, if the university is a good university, they would only look at the application, they would look at the grades and probably not the money. But in the end, you have to be able to pay that high fee to be able to come. So even though it's like, in most cases, you would think that it would be based only on merit, it's so much about the money. So I think it's definitely causing, like, a rift between, like, the people who can pay to stay here and the people who just can't, who are still just as smart or even smarter.
Okay, and Subhash Thakra, is it your sense that, do you agree as someone who works with a lot of businesses who are looking to invest in Britain and trying to promote economic growth here, is it your sense that there are kind of mixed signals essentially coming from Britain and double standards, if you like, from Theresa May, where if you're wealthy, then you get this special fast-track access, but if you're an ambitious and principled and driven student who wants to, pursue a better life and economic opportunities across the world, like Anisha Bhavnani, there are very different rules?
Well, I think we talk about the wealthy. In fact, we should be talking about business people. This is as a result of strong lobbying that has taken place, that business people need to be able to come with ease into UK to do their business. And that has been an achievement, an advancement from where it was before. And I think the next phase is further advancement that needs to be taking place with regards to students who genuinely wish to come to and join genuine institutions. And I think she's very right that it is the institutions that have to choose the students. And to the extent that they do it well, that's not a problem. But we have had bogus colleges and institutions that have been set up, which has created problems in the past, where quite rightly there have been cases where students have come and they have not attended courses. They've gone to try and look for a job. So that's not what it's about. So for genuine cases, there should be ease for students to be able to also come into the UK. As soon as the institutions have accepted their application, there should be no further problems. Indeed, I think from my experience with some of the institutions that I deal with, it is not a problem. But yes, cost is becoming an issue for, say, Indian students when they compare themselves to going to institutions in Australia or US. They find that the UK costs are getting to be high, and therefore another reason for why the numbers have dropped could well be to do with the amount of money they need to spend. You're right in saying they spend a lot of money here, but it might be relatively more expensive than other parts of the world.
So that £100,000 that Anisha Bhavnani is spending, it could for other people, it could be even higher still. Subhash Thakra from the London Chamber of Commerce, or Vice President of the London Chamber of Commerce, and Anisha Bhavnani in Warwick University. Thank you both very, very much indeed for your call. And Anisha, I think it's wonderful that you're over here, and I think we wish you the very, very best of luck with your education.
Thank you.
And I hope, if you do want to stay, I hope a way is found for you to contribute over here. We're talking about whether or not Theresa May is operating double standards with her policy on Indian visas. The Prime Minister, on a trip to India, has said she's going to make it easier for wealthy business executives to come to the UK, but at the same time, the government is enforcing tougher rules on poorer workers and students. Our understanding, by the way, is that the deal is that the basic bargain is that India will have to take back more illegal immigrants to Britain as part of this deal that allows more wealthy Indians to come over here. If you're affected by these issues, if you've got a point to make, please call us on 03459 440 445, text us on 81869, message us on WhatsApp 07920 500 200, or email thebigdebate@bbc.co.uk. We'll be hearing more of your views straight up.